Don't mind me, I'm literally booking our Singapore Airlines business class from Singapore to New York. So we just did a whole plan and I'm going to show you later in this video. So definitely keep an eye out for that because I'm going to show you how we did all of this. Right now we're booking our very first flight for our honeymoon. So our honeymoon particularly, we're going to go to JFK to Tokyo, in this case Haneda Airport, and then Haneda to Sapporo, Sapporo to Kyoto. Then from there we're gonna actually fly Tokyo to Singapore, then Singapore to JFK. So we're going to do a 16 days in Japan and 5 days in Singapore as our honeymoon in spring 2024. So about to press make payment. This is our very first one. I just pressed it. Oh my god, my first award travel. It's been booked! Woo-hoo-hoo. We're going to Singapore. Now, we're gonna book our Tokyo to Singapore booking. I'm gonna basically show you the entire thing right now because, like, to be honest, everything is pretty easy because we're sticking to Singapore Airlines. So now I just gotta put in our last information. It's been booked! Okay, so now that we pretty much booked this, just so we can lock it in, because honestly, I was going to film this part a little bit earlier until I realized that the points actually hit my account a lot faster than I thought, like literally almost instantly. All the videos out there said that Amex travel would take like 2-3 business days, and this is a Saturday, so I did not expect that. So, unexpected, but we're gonna book our Chase one now. So we're going to go to our Chase portal, and Chase particularly, we were actually looking at our Amex portal and our Chase portal and was looking to see, okay, if we were to book this exact flight with these points, would this work out? Amex was like 100-something thousand points, I don't know why, but Chase was like 69,000 for one way, basically New York, JFK, to go to Haneda Airport. So we wanted a nonstop. We were contemplating between, do we want to use points on being able to go to, like, through transfer partners? And for some reason, like, everyone says that there is a direct flight for JFK or New York in general to Tokyo, but I didn't see that, and it probably is because of award availability. We've been really diligent with checking like when those flights are out, but every time it just says waitlisted for ANA or JL, it just doesn't show up on the American Airlines portal or British Airways or Cathay Pacific, like literally all the places you can look up for it through the partners. I could not find them at all, so I kind of gave up on that because, like, if you were to book it, there is a way where you take United Airlines or American Airlines to like a connecting flight, and then from there you can go and take it from wherever that connecting airport is to Tokyo, and then we would still need to take Tokyo to in this case New Chitose Airport for Sapporo. So we were like, do we really want to do 3 flights just to go to our first destination, or do we want to do 2? Like, at least I know once we're in Japan, we're going to go to Sapporo, so that one is a little bit of a given, and we're actually not doing that one in points because when you look it up for economy, and this is actually where we were a little bit strategic, we're like, why are we doing business class or first class coming back home? It's mostly because, number one, we're going to be more tired, and number two, when we're flying to Japan, we're just going to have one personal item and one carry-on. We're actually going to be pretty simple that way. We're going to pack light because we know we're not going to be dressing up for winter. We know we're going to like pack warm clothing for Sapporo, but once we're in Tokyo, we could be good to go. We're not packing a thick jacket. But at the same time, we're like, we don't actually need to pack that much. For Japan specifically, we're there for 16 days, and we do plan on buying a checked bag while we're in Japan. So when we're there, we might buy new clothes, we might like buy a lot of souvenirs, we'll just put a lot of excess clothing into that checked bag. But particularly, we're going to come in with just a carry-on suitcase, which will have all our clothes that we're going to need in our Japan trip before we get our checked bag. And so from there, we're like, well, in that case, like, we don't need to worry about checked bags. We don't really need to worry about comfort, but we did do premium economy because it is a long flight. We want comfort in some way instead of being cramped up in the economy, because we can't even afford to get business class and first class. We just can't find it. We can't find award availability. And when we were talking about like what was our requirements or our, can you look at the camera? We're talking about our. He's on a stool, by the way. That's why he's like a little bit shorter. He's not actually that short. Rude. But when we were looking at our particular requirements or priorities for this flight or this trip, this honeymoon, we said, number one, we wanted to have like good weather, and number two, we wanted cherry blossoms. Ramon, like, that was mine. And number three was he wanted first class or business class kind of experience. So it doesn't mean that we had to do it from Japan, or at least from anywhere in Japan. So that was like our number one. It's like, okay, then we can always do a detour to some place that we were planning on doing. We originally were doing 2 weeks in Japan and 1 week in Korea, but we ended up changing that because we were like, why don't we just do 3 weeks in Japan? But honestly, 3 weeks in Japan was not a requirement because that's a lot of time in Japan. And it could actually be better used to be go to like another place in Asia because it is a long flight to Asia. So we're like, why don't we look at all of the good business class airlines out there and then see what locations, and the places we were considering were Dubai, Singapore, Hawaii, and I mean, this one's a little bit more, it's not necessarily for any kind of reason for that, it's Paris, but we thought like we can lump Paris with another European country. So when we looked at it, we were really debating between two, which was Singapore and Dubai. Then we did a lot of research as to like what we're more interested in for this trip. And we thought Singapore just because we wanted the Asian food. We thought it would be really good that way. But also, like, if we were to go to Dubai, I feel like we'd go with friends, if anything. So in the end of the day, we chose Singapore. So this all came around within the past 2 days because we were like, okay, now we're passing the 330 days, which we could have done through Virgin Atlantic Airways, but unfortunately, there were just nothing there. And then I was like, okay, I know that when it comes to ANA, they're released earlier, like 360 days. So we went to ANA and none of them were available. Even when we waited the next day to see if it was like available from the moment it got released, no, it wasn't. Someone already took it for some reason. So we thought like, you know what, let's just not, because we prioritize this time period, which is perfect for cherry blossoms. So we're going to go in March. Or well, in this case, it's like the last 1 to 2 weeks of March and then the first week of April for us. So my friend Michelle actually went to Japan around this time of year this year in 2023 and a lot of cherry blossoms. So that's when I was like, okay, but this is the time to pounce. So when we were about to book it, that's where we found all these issues and we had to kind of change it to go to Singapore as well. Not that it was like a bad plan, like we still wanted to go to Singapore. So now we just booked up our Singapore flights. Now we're gonna go book up in the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. So specifically for me, I'm booking for the both of us. And I also just wanted to add, for Singapore Airlines, I booked it for the both of us. I moved my Amex points from Amex to Singapore, KrisFlyer, frequent flyer points. That was about 298,000 points. I'm gonna actually flash the numbers here as to like where the numbers started before I did all of this. And these are numbers that we essentially been saving the entire time we've been together. Every time we've been working on this, we were like, okay, I'm gonna put my card down. Think of it as like for the honeymoon. We don't want to duplicate where like he puts his card down, then I put my card down, because at the end of the day, you're splitting your earnage there. So instead, I put my card down, and I just Venmo request him. If you really see our Venmo history, you're gonna see a lot of Venmo from him to me. And honestly, it's because of that, is that we were like, we don't want to spread our eggs like that. We want to kind of like have it all in, actually in this case it does make sense, we want to put all the eggs in one basket with my credit cards, because I had all the credit cards and I at the time used it a lot more because I was a consultant at Accenture, so I traveled a lot, and particularly because of that I was able to use a lot of my cards for travel and also for Office Champion stuff like booking hotels for the actual holiday parties or just booking anything in general. I just like was the one that I just tried to put my card down to get those points, and it was all because of this moment for honeymoon. So we weren't just going to save it and not use it. We were saving it for this moment that we're going to eventually, and stick around to the very end to know how much money we're actually going to be spending for this entire trip, including flights, including hotels. So now we're going to go to the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. So for this one, I am booking for myself, and then Addison over there is actually booking from his own. So he also has the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I have the Chase Sapphire Reserve. For this particular leg from JFK to Haneda, it is valued at $1,041.20, which is honestly not a lot if you think about how much economy is nowadays, but this is one way. And we still wanted comfort, and we still wanted to use our points somehow. And when we looked at it, 69,413 points. That's how much it's going to be valued at. Versus if you go to first class or business class, it's going to be like 90, 100, 200 maybe. But unfortunately, we could not lock those down. So the next big thing is premium economy. We also tried to book them as like JL or ANA points as well through either Virgin Atlantics or using like British Airways. But unfortunately, it was even hard to find those flights to book through transfer partners. So we saw that like at least with Chase, like you can book at cash value using points. So it's a little bit different because there's no award availability you have to worry about. So instead we're using it through the Chase portal. And we thought that like instead of just dealing with 3 flights, so like even just get to our first destination, we're just gonna do with 2 flights. And a little bit more makes sense because it's like a going from Tokyo to Sapporo. There is no direct from going from New York to Sapporo. So this was like basically a lesser evil for more comfort. So I'm at the final checkout here, and I'm basically going to show you like this is what I did. Like I went in and I was looking at all the flights for these time periods because we're going for cherry blossoms, and particularly for Tokyo we were aiming for the last week of March as our target for Sakura season. And when we planned it this way, we were going to Sapporo first, then after that we're going from Sapporo to Kyoto. But actually, even though we're landing in Kyoto, we're really landing in Osaka. So we're doing a 1 day in Osaka. And after Osaka, we're going to Kyoto, where we're doing a few things, like, for example, Nara, and Akashiyama in Kyoto. Then after Kyoto, we go to Hakone, where we're going to go for the hot springs. And after Hakone, we're going to Tokyo, where we are going to be in Tokyo, except for 1 day trip to Mount Fuji. So that's exactly what we're doing in Japan. After we're in Tokyo, we're going to be going to Tokyo to Singapore, as I mentioned before. So this is what our itinerary is like. This is our very last flight we're booking through points, and all the others are going to be booked through cash because honestly, when you're doing like a 1 or 2 hour flight, it's just not worth it to waste your points on something like that versus like paying $100 or $200 for economy, especially because at that point of the trip when we're doing those flights, we actually are not going to carry that much anyways. We're just going to have, again, our personal item and carry-on. So that's what we're going to have. And now I'm about to press checkout. Addison's over there. He's probably going to be finishing up. Are you almost there yet?
I have to create a freaking flyer account.
Okay, so he's going to create a freaking flyer account. I've already created because I was trying to look at ANA and all the flights and everything. Unfortunately, it did not work out, which is why I'm here today doing it this way. So thankfully with Chase particularly, I don't know if this is with Chase or if this is with ANA or through the portal, but it says book without worry. Cancel your flight online for free within 24 hours of booking. So I'm going to book it now because even if he has issues, I can just cancel. And if I don't, like, I have screenshots. I literally took screenshots for you guys so you could see it as I was going through this process because I didn't want to show the process and just like see it fail. So instead of screen sharing everything, I just took screenshots along the way. So complete checkout. This particular flight from New York to Japan is the most anxious inducing kind of worry because like I said about how all the things when it comes to booking and award availability and making sure you have the right leg, and we were trying to make sure that we can at least find a return trip back. So good thing we did it the other way around because I was prioritizing the bid at business class. So I prioritized the Singapore one first. Once we figured that out, then we were going to book this. So now it is fully booked. Ooh. Ah! Oops. My DJI Pocket got too excited, so I was just gonna go to Osaka. We already had a plan that for our flights, we are going to mostly use Chase points, and for the flight from New York to Tokyo, and then Amex, we're using the transfer partners for the Singapore section. But when it comes to hotels, on the other hand, we're going to be using a combination of Chase, Cash, and Marriott. And when we looked at Chase, unfortunately, the dates are not available just yet. It was literally available for the week before, but not for the week after. So those are going to have to wait. But when it comes to Marriott, on the other hand, the dates are already available to like mid-April. So we are able to book those. For Chase particularly, that's going to be for another day. I might have to vlog that, or maybe not. Maybe I'll just show you a little bit on the recap side. But for Marriott, I can book it right now. We're doing 1 night in Osaka. Like I mentioned before, we're doing a flight from Sapporo to Osaka. We're gonna go from the east end all the way to the west end, and then we're gonna go in towards Tokyo, where we're leaving to Singapore. So when we go to Osaka, we're just there for one night. We don't think that we need to spend that much time on it, so we're gonna have just one night. And we were basically, how I usually plan all my trips is that I plot a lot of the destinations that we were thinking about going to in terms of like sightseeing or restaurants or that kind of place, see where it's mostly clustered so I can reduce the amount of transportation or time that we need to travel. And then from there, I look at the hotels in that area. So for this particularly, the W Osaka was actually the one that was fitting the bill. It was actually the only hotel, and it's not bad at all because there's a 45,000 per night, and there's also a 96.4 thousand per night category in terms of like the room rate. We're gonna go for the lowest because it's just one night. We don't need to have it as a big bang. We're gonna have it for maybe like the hotel on the way back home in Singapore, or maybe another hotel, because all the other hotels we have in mind here, we actually went in the Chase portal and then we looked into, again, like I said, we looked at those areas of like all of our areas of interest, and then we mapped it to see which hotels are in that area that are within the same dates. So the way we've been looking at this is that we made sure, because the dates for Chase were not available, at least we can get the next closest thing, which was for the week before, which is what we do have available as opposed to the week after. We made sure the days of the week matched because weekends generally have higher rates. So we made sure like if it was a Tuesday through Thursday, for the previous week we did Tuesday through Thursday. There's of course going to be seasonality with the weeks, but at least like day of the week is going to be a little bit closer to the actual rates of how it would expect. So that's what we did. I was mostly looking at, I knew for sure I wanted Onsen Ryokan Yuen Sapporo, which could not be found on anything, but I did want it because it has a hot springs and it includes breakfast. With cash is only 603, so that was something that we did not do with points. With Osaka, I was like, okay, well, it's just one night. I'd have enough Marriott points. First, I looked at Singapore because I had a feeling with Singapore, since it's so condensed, there's going to be a lot of Marriott hotels. And I was right. We had 3 of interest, and we narrowed it down to 2, which was the Westin Hotel and the JW Marriott. Westin Hotel at 160,000 points, and JW Marriott for 264,000 points, and this is for 5 nights. Marriott's doing this thing where you get 4, you get the fifth night free essentially. So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, because if you think about it that way, we basically pay the same amount. We were thinking about the very last night we can go stay at Marina Bay Sands, but we're like, you know what, this buy 4 get 5th free night is way better, so we're just gonna deal with it. Plus, we are potentially going to go for JW Marriott, which is like right there anyways. You can still see everything. We don't need to be in that infinity pool. So, oh my god, our cats. So now I'm going to be looking at Osaka for W Hotel, and then we do have the Marriott for Singapore, which I will still hold because we're not entirely sure yet if we want to splurge on JW Marriott or let it sink. Because what if we want to use these points for another trip? Because Marriott, there's honestly a lot more Marriott in the US. So if we wanted to go to another trip where there's a Marriott hotel, we can use that. So the difference between 160,000 points and 264,000 could be like 2 to 3 nights stay domestically. So maybe more than that. So now I'm gonna book it. Okay, we're about to click submit. So right now we have W Osaka. Right over here, I'm going to put it on top of Addison's face. We're doing the wonderful guest room to double skyline high floor. So that's what we're going to be doing, is this particular one here. And what is going to be fun about it is that we're going to get skyline views, and it's going to be a high floor. So even though we're there for one day, we can enjoy it almost like it's an observatory. I don't know exactly what it is, but we're going to enjoy it. It's going to be 52,400 points, 600 Japanese yen, taxes and fees. That is fine. I'm using my I'm using my Marriott card here. And then now I'm going to click. It says I can cancel the reservation no charge before 11:59 local hotel time, March 20th, 2024. So I still got time. So I'm going to click here. Okay. It's done. That's just the first Marriott hotel. Now, we were talking about between Westin Hotel 160,000 points and JW Marriott 264,000 points. We're gonna talk offline here a little bit on you're literally getting the play-by-play. We're literally booking as we speak on what we're figuring out, and then I'll get back to you later. Live from booking. We decided to do the JW Marriott. We're gonna be bougie because we only live once, you know. So now we're gonna go for JW. Bye bye Westin. And then now we're gonna go for the premier guest room, 1 king. I am going to take a screenshot. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be right over there where Addison's face is. You're gonna see what I'm doing right there. We're going for the premier guest room. The Westin actually is not premier. It's just a normal one. So I was like, it's just a normal one. So I'm gonna click on this 264,000 points for 5 days. It's 4 days with 1 night free. So it's actually a pretty good deal if you think about it, especially when we're paying nothing except for taxes or fees. So 264,000 points. And then we're gonna have it under, again, my credit card for the fees, which actually, wait, there is no fees on this one. There is no fees or taxes. It's literally just 264,000 flat. Perfect. Oh, even better. Okay. It's been booked. Yeah. Here's the confirmation. Of course, with some information hide. But that is gonna be the bookings for today. We are done. This was like literally rewards on steroids. I'm gonna as I mentioned before, like, here's my entire sheet. I'm gonna be showing you exactly a little bit more after he leaves because he's tired. It's 12:15 a.m. right now, and he's gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna talk to you everything about what we just did. There's gonna be some bookings that we can't do yet, like the Chase for a lot of the hotels, but almost all of the flights are done. Everything, at least everything that's done through points, are done. Thank you. Bye, Addison. You can go to sleep now. Peace. Okay, Addison is actually playing video games. He is not going to sleep despite being 12:21 a.m. He's probably just high on adrenaline just like I am. I'm gonna explain to you this sheet. Here's the sheet. I'm gonna just like wait for it. It's gonna just be in my face for a while, but this is what I ended up doing is like I went to ANA, JL, I went to their websites, and I also looked into their transfer partners, or at least their alliance partners, as to like what are the possibilities to book them with the ecosystems that I have, which Chase and Amex. So particularly with this, I had ANA and JL. And then I realized that there really wasn't that many when it comes to business class and first class. Even though we could afford it points wise, we could not do it. So in the end, we decided, like, do we really want to do 3 trips just to go to Sapporo or 2 trips? So in this case, it would be legs or flights and 2 layovers versus 1 layover. And for this, we're like, okay, fine. We can either pay cash and do economy, or pay cash and do premium economy, or we'll just go do a different way like Amex or Chase and go for a portal to get these flights. And we compared Amex and Chase, and we saw, oh, it's actually lower in Chase with 69,413 points. We booked it, as you saw earlier. But that actually came after like a week or so of research, because we were looking into like what are the flights available, and it was just unavailable. Like these awards availability, even though you in theory can book it with whatever points you have, it's hard to lock down. And like I mentioned earlier, we prefer to have it during cherry blossoms time, so I didn't exactly care about how we got there as long as it was a little bit comfortable, which is hence the premium economy. And then from here, we were like, okay, now from Tokyo to Sapporo, honestly, we did not care. Like I mentioned before, we're going to have very limited bags anyways. We're going to have not that much. We don't have to worry about anything. Whatever we carry onto the plane is what we brought out ourselves. So we're just going to do economy. It's literally going to be like a 1 to 2 hour flight. Like when it comes to those kind of short flights, I honestly don't think it's worth doing first class or premium economy unless you're being upgraded for free. So with that, we just did economy. We are not going to book it yet. It's going to be cash just because it's just such a small amount. It does not matter if it goes up or down that much. And what we saw, a lot of flights are going to leave from Haneda to go to Sapporo, which is the new Chitose airport, for about $102 at JAL, with ANA particularly. And then we're going to be in Sapporo for 3 days. I'm going to also link down below the itinerary and this exact tricks or sheet that we're seeing. Of course, I'm going to change a few things here and there to just save our privacy a little bit. But from here, we have the Sapporo to Kyoto. So after we're done with Sapporo, we're gonna go to the east to the west end. And the reason why we did that is because we wanted to make sure that it was the easiest way to kind of go from east to west and then back to Tokyo, as opposed to Tokyo to Kyoto and then back to Tokyo. It was like literally just a lot of work. So Tokyo is gonna be our last stop. And also because we wanted to make sure we knew that we might buy a lot in Tokyo. So we were gonna buy a checked bag, probably when we're either going to be in Tokyo, maybe Kyoto, we'll see. I think we're gonna get a lot in Kyoto, to be honest, like snacks and everything. So we might buy in Kyoto, but all these airlines do allow us to have checked bags. Thankfully, we're not gonna go with checked bags, so we don't have to worry of like, oh, what if we don't have everything? So Sapporo, Kyoto, we're going to take a flight from the most east end to the most west end. It's like 2 hours long. We are going for the early morning one, so that way once we land, we can explore Kyoto. And that's with JAL. Again, we were looking at all these flights. It's like $102, $105. For economy, it does not matter for that long, especially. So from here, whatever. And then we're in for the flight Tokyo to Singapore. That one we just booked, as you probably saw. It was premium economy. Again, it's like 7 hours long, so it's like pretty much just a little bit longer than if I were to fly from New York to LAX, and I don't think I need business class for that. Again, not a good use of your points. When I saw the difference between economy and premium economy, I was like, wow, it's only like 10,000. Why not just go for premium economy? This is our honeymoon. Why not? So it's not that much of a big deal. So for that, we did premium economy instead of economy. We did consider economy just because it's such a short-ish flight. But again, with checked bags, I wanted to make sure we're safe. Premium economy, generally when you're premium economy, business class or first class, your bags do come earlier, and your bags also get a little bit more privilege. So then right after that, we're going to be in Singapore. And as you saw, we're going to be there in 5 days, and we're using Marriott points for that. We're going to Singapore to New York, Singapore Airlines business class. It's the only non-stop flight they have. And it's the only flight where it's the longest one apparently in the world when it comes to distance, I think. I'm not sure I don't know how they actually called it the longest flight, but it is apparently the longest flight. And it is 143,500 points for if we wanted to go for the advantage, but we went for the saver just because we're like, why do we need it? We looked at the differences. The only difference was like you pay a little bit less or you pay a little bit more depending on like what happens, like if you cancel. And I'm like, I'll pay that little for the chance. It's like $25. It's very nominal because we're paying literally nothing. So it's still business class. It's not like you're getting less of a service. You're just like after service kind of thing is a little bit different. And then from there, we have our hotels. So Sapporo, we're going to probably wait until after the wedding to book that hotel. I'm not going to show it in this video. You're not going to get it because it's just cash. Like I just wanted to focus in this particular video how we did it with points. And then for Osaka, you saw us. We booked W Hotel for Osaka. We did end up going for a little bit more of an expensive one instead of the 45,000 because we were there for only 1 day. We're like, why don't we just splurge a little bit for a nice view? So we ended up going for 52,400. So it's only 7,000 more than the other one. We ended up booking that, and for that one, honestly, I told you, and when we were booking that, we based it off of distance of like all the stuff we were going for and also location. So that one, when we go for the next one, I'm going to skip over Kyoto because Kyoto and Tokyo particularly, we're going to use the Chase Ultimate Rewards for the points. And as you can see, there's like about 127,789 for the Chase one for Kyoto, and then 84,187 for Chase for Tokyo. These are based off of the ones that we were looking at for a week before, so that's why it's not going to be that definite, but we do have enough points. Like if you look at the top right, after all of our deductions, we do have a healthy amount of like 264,555 available for Chase. So that one is like, even if it's significantly higher, we still have the amount. And for Chase particularly, we're not going to use all the balance because we can still use it for other flights. Like 264,555 can do it a lot. And then from here, we're going to have it where when we do this, it's going to be either Nazuna Kyoto Tsupaki Street or Nagi Kyoto Shijo Superior Double King. And I prefer the Nazuna Kyoto Tsupaki Street because it has a deep soak. It has, not the deep soak, but it has like an open air bath in it. And it was like so nice. I was like, why not? Semi-open air. I was like, why not? Kyoto for 3 days. Like I wanted some, when I told Addison to like look at hotels, I gave him the parameters of like I wanted a little bit more traditional, but also kind of a little bit bougie. But I thought this was perfect because you get the open air bath, so it's a nice way to soak. I don't know if it's cold water or hot water, but I feel like it's gonna be nice warm water. But and then from here, Tokyo, I was actually looking here. I didn't really care, honestly. I honestly don't even know if we're going to be sticking with these hotels, because usually what I do is like I plot all the locations on a map and then figure out the hotel that's generally in that area. I haven't done that for Tokyo yet. Literally right before this, I was like moving our points to Singapore, and I thought it was going to take 1 to 2 business days. It literally was instant, so this video was unplanned. I was hoping to do this in 1 to 2 days. I did not expect to film this today, hence my makeshift outfit, which honestly is just what I just wore plus a little thing on top because it's a little bit cold today. So that's what we're doing for Tokyo. But for Singapore, as you saw, we booked the JW Marriott, 264,000 points. We're still good, and literally now we are happy because everything that we could book at this moment is booked. We are not going to use cash for anything just yet. Like even for the one when it comes to Onsen Ryokan Yuan Sapporo, that's actually based off of like dates near us because it's not available yet. Like the furthest date we can go for it was I think October or not even. And then same for Guadalcanal, like the dates were not even open yet. So those we're going to just be watching a little bit later, like probably later this year. I will not be filming those. The Chase ones, I also may not be filming it, but I may provide an update in a separate video. So definitely check that out. So thank you for all this. This is definitely a long video, but I wanted to make this video because I've had people who ask me like, Christine, how do you do this? And I'm going to make a whole separate video on my earning, because you can see from the numbers up there, significant numbers. Like collectively, we have 1,918,507 points, and that's not including the 12,000 that we have from my Chase Sapphire Reserve that I just threw down because of our bachelorette weekend Airbnb. So as you can see, there's a lot of points, and this is just now. Like we still have a whole year until our honeymoon, so a lot of points can still accumulate from then. So see you next time. Let me know down in the comments below, like when you're planning a trip, do you use points? Like what's your game plan? What ecosystem are you in? Are you in Chase? Are you in Amex? You may want to check out the video over here on my credit card strategy and what's in my wallet. I probably need to I definitely should make an updated one because I have 2 different cards now and my strategy is slightly different now because of the X1 card. So I'll probably make that as well. But let me know if you like this type of video, because right now it's like all of these years of us earning these points and like me being very strategic and me putting my card down for all these group dinners and events at work is coming down to this. So yeah, thank you guys. Bye.